Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming, and we have a lot to cover tonight, so we're going to get right to it. I want to call this meeting to order. First, we need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second? Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
She's on Zoom.
Is she on?
Did we connect her? She should be on Zoom.
She's not.
Commissioner Mobley,
Yeah.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Motion has been approved, second, and approved. Thank you. Next, I'd like a motion to adopt the agenda of the board meetings for January 19th, 2023 special call board meeting and January 23rd, 2023 regular board meeting.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the approve the minutes for the January 29th and January 23rd, 2023 meetings.
Second?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley,
Yes.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, motion is approved and second and approved. Thank you. Now we have public input.
We have one to speak for public input.
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
We have one to speak for public input. When your name is called, please come to the podium. You will be given 2 minutes to speak, and there will be a timer to notify you that your time has ended. First person is Ms. Yvette McKenzie.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Yvette McKenzie, and I represent South Carolina Senior Sports.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. Can you remove your mask?
No, you can't.
This is my volleyball mask. Anyway, I'm here to find out how we can get these in every recreation center, because Richland County Recreation is one of our main supporters, and I frequent a lot of different centers. When I got in here today, I said hello to Felicia, and she told me how to do it, so that's already covered. Okay, but I wanted you to see the poster that you recommend. Also, I really am here to find out how we can start the programs that we have in the senior games. There are a lot of sports that we have in the senior games for the
Speak to the-
state that you do not have for local. For instance, archery, badminton, shuffleboard. And I've been trying all year to get people to order supplies, and I need to go to a different level, this level, to see how we can get those supplies and staff that know the rules and regulations. And those are my questions.
Okay, we'll have somebody from that division. Tamika, you right, okay. And please give us your name and telephone number so they can get in touch with you and give you the specific information that you need
Well, I've been
regarding the
waiting a year
advertisements and the
already.
games.
I have been waiting a year for the archery information, whether it's a yes or a no, and I've gotten
So,
we
can I-
don't have the equipment.
Can I ask a question? So,
Sir.
just backing up. So you put on an event called the South Carolina Senior Games, and I think you've been here before, if I'm not
Come to
mistaken.
the board meeting to know what's going on.
Yeah. But I think you spoke last year. No, never? All right. Anyway, so you'll put these games on like as a summer event at our different facilities? Is that how it works?
So
Or
it's every year in May, and it's normally in Florence. Next year, it's gonna be in Columbia, and I want us to be ready to put on a big show.
so, for instance, how many events are there?
Probably about 25.
Can you read them to me?
archery, badminton, basketball, bocce, bowling, cycling, cornhole, 5K runs, golf, horseshoes, pickleball, power walk, race walk, racquetball, shuffleboard, softball, swimming, table tennis, tennis, track and field, triathlon, and volleyball.
Okay, and I appreciate you doing that. So just trying to understand how it works, like, for instance, in Florence coming up, and hopefully we could get somebody to go see how it goes on. But for instance, pickleball. So how many people will generally enter these contests? And
More than 300 for pickleball.
so we've got to come up with, so how do you find courts for 300 pickleball players? How does that work?
In Florence, we have the courts. And
But like in
they're
Columbia,
They're staggered by year. You participate in a 5-year range. So all the 55s will participate for an hour, then the 65s. Pickleball in Richland County Recreation is covered. We have Trenham Park, and there are already pickleball parks. I personally laid the courts out myself when I was the pickleball ambassador. So the courts and everything are laid out here already, and the staff knows pickleball. It's the other sports like shuffleboard. We do not have the shuffleboard stuff. Cornhole was started at Garner's Ferry. They meet twice a week, but that's just one place.
but for instance, like, just let's talk about cornhole. Let's say that you have 100 people, and there's generally 4 people in a match, I think.
Yes.
So that's 25 different sets of cornhole, right? Who typically supplies those?
The facility, Richland County Recreation. Because see, the state has 7, and they do the tournament, the statewide tournament with their 7 cornhole sets.
So you bring the 7, and then we have to make up the differential, or you just use those 7?
No, what I'm trying to establish is a place for people to practice and learn the game on the local level so that they
Okay.
can be ready when they go to the state level.
And how many people will participate in Florence this year, do you expect?
This year. This is the off year for qualification for nationals. But we have nationals, which is qualification. It's over 2,000 people. And then we represent South Carolina by going to nationals. I've come out with 5 medals myself, representing South
What do you,
Carolina.
like, so, sorry, maybe I need to do this offline, but it's pretty fascinating. So how many, you do 5 sports, what are those sports?
Archery, cornhole, shuffleboard, badminton, and bocce ball.
Okay, so badminton. How many people will actually participate in seniors 65 and over in badminton?
In badminton on the state level, we have about 20. And we're trying to increase that, but nobody knows how to play the game.
Well, I was getting ready to say, like,
Right.
you know, I play a lot of pickleball and some other sports that you mentioned, but not a lot of people play some of those sports, like cycling, right?
Cycling, we have a large group. I was surprised myself. But see, that's what I'm
Have you
trying
talked to
accomplish.
Fort Jackson about possibly using Fort
Yes,
Jackson for
yeah.
that?
For next year, yes. They've already done that for next year. But if you don't know how to play the sport, you won't compete in it. And we need to learn on the local level where people can drive 20 minutes to go play
Right.
cornhole and learn how to play.
Well,
We
it sounds,
started at Garner's Ferry with 3 people playing cornhole. Now we have like 12.
well, I was going to say that we probably just need to get you a point person to discuss, like,
Yeah, that's what I'm
because
saying.
it's pretty exciting. We just need to, so we've got, it sounds to me like 15 months to figure this out, but to start practicing and getting ready, we have about 3 months, and you've been asking for a long time, so we probably need to get you a point person that Tamika hopefully can help us figure out, so you have a direct report that we
Right.
can start getting the wish list, the budgetary side of it, because it's obviously important.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Tamika, do you have her information, her contact information? Okay. Next person?
That's it for public input. That is it for public input.
That's it.
That's all. That's it for public input.
Okay. I saw the people in the audience, that's why I'm making sure they had a chance to talk. Okay, next we'll have the financial report from the Chief Financial Officer.
Good evening, Chair Lindsay, and members of the Commission Board. I'd like to begin tonight by providing you with an update on the General and Enterprise Fund financials for the period of July 1, 2022 through January 31st, 2023. Total revenues for the General Fund for the 7-month period were $8.2 million compared to $8.3 million around this time last year. Represents approximately $46,000 decrease in revenues, or approximately 0.5% decrease. Property tax revenue was the sole driver of the decrease, as program revenue actually increased from this time last year. The decrease is mainly due to the timing of property tax payments, as well as the decrease in the property tax revenue allocation for fiscal year 23. Please keep in mind, RCRC receives the vast majority of property tax revenue during the final 2 quarters of the fiscal year. We did receive a check for $4.9 million on February 17th, which will be reflected in next month's report. Program revenues for the 7-month period were $487,700 compared to $416,500 around this time last year. Represents approximately $71,000 increase in revenues, or a 17% increase. Parks and rental, recreational, and athletic revenues were the largest drivers of the increase from this time last year. Total general fund expenditures for this period were $8.5 million compared to $7.5 million around this time. Represents approximately 7.5% increase, or $592,000. The biggest driver for this increase would be fleet expenses. That's related to increased fuel costs, repairs on vehicles, and supply expenses, as well as IT expenses. That's largely due to Kronos licensing and supply increase related to the RecTrack implementation. For Enterprise Fund, revenues for the current period were $594,000 compared to $587,000 this time last year. Represents approximately 1.2% increase, or a little over $7,000. Green fees and food sales are the drivers for this increase. Other revenue types are generally in line with prior year figures. Enterprise Fund expenditures for this period were $501,000 compared to $682,000 around this time last year. Represents approximately 26.6% decrease, or $181,000. Capital outlay expenses was a large driver for this decrease, as well as general golf operating expense, which are related to pro shop operating costs. Were there any questions?
Brian, just as a reminder. Hey, as a reminder, just in the line items of expenditures, when I see OpEx or the operating expenses, what are the general classifications there that come under that?
Generally, that's going to be cost of inventory for the pro shop.
Well, I was talking about actually on the general fund.
Oh, on the general fund. Okay.
Would that be like HVAC? I mean, utility cost?
What are they?
I have it broken out here. That typically includes electric, propane, telephone and internet, water, sewer.
Got it.
It also includes items like professional liability costs.
Okay, and then the vehicle expenses, on the fleet. Just, it looks like we're still below budget. So I get, actually, it's probably not a question, and I think we're okay there. All right.
Ryan, I do have a question about the fleet expenses. What is the status on the vehicles that we approve for sale or for auction? And where would that show if we were to receive a check?
So we did receive a check from the sale of a number of vehicles that were disposed of. That typically will show up under other revenue,
How much was it?
which is typically included under the administrative revenue category, the larger category. It was roughly $50,000, $51,213.
I'm sorry, what was that total again?
$51,213.
Yeah, I think you said last month, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, sorry, I missed that. All right.
No, I asked last meeting. I didn't know. So the money that you received from the fleet sales, what did you do with that?
Put them,
It's in our general operating fund, so those funds are used to support general operating activities,
It
or
wouldn't go
governmental
back.
activities.
It wouldn't go to cover some of the fleet expenses.
Yeah, typically it will be. I'm sorry. Yeah, typically it will be used to support fleet costs.
Did you have something to say to me?
No, I was getting ready. Yeah, I was getting ready to say, so just say, for instance, if that line item would deplete, we know we have it in our, in that line item to adjust for the, any other expenses that will come out, we have that cushion under that line item. So we use that, the fleet expenses line item first, so then if we would deplete that, we know we have that other amount in that, the operating expenses line item to cover.
Are there any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now on unfinished business. We'll have a report regarding the Richland County Intergovernment Maintenance Agreement with Chatsworth Connector.
Yes, ma'am. So the Richland County Intergovernmental Maintenance Agreement that we have for the Chatsworth Connector, we're just going to provide you an update. Richland County met with some of the county reps for Public Works on February 6th to discuss the project. So they're the individuals who are involved with the project. We have our attorney, Lawrence Flynn, here to give some insight and some follow-ups about the drafted agreement that was previously done for the Brookfield property. From that point, the county would like to go back and kind of review that design to be sure this is something that the Penny Stacks they want to continue with. And the design is completed to widen the trails with the slope, of course, with the lighting locations and the safety call boxes. So, Lawrence.
Thank you, Megan. So, guys, I think unfinished business is a good way to group this today. As y'all may recall, when we met last month, we had conversations with the county, and the discussion was around taking an action item to actually approve this agreement. But kind of in the intervening days right before y'all met, they finally sent us a schematic of the drawing they wanted to do for the facility, which allowed us to then pull up the property, and I went back and tracked the tax map numbers, and their recitals were such that they had written it as though they owned the property. Well, as it turns out, we own the property. It was given to us by Richland School District 2 several years ago, and that kind of started us down the discussion path of saying, how much work have y'all really put into this? And to that, we talked with the county engineer, and we realized that there's some pretty significant drop or fall on this site. And I don't know how familiar y'all are with this location. But if you look on it, if you look at GIS, and I know that staff has now walked the property, there's some really, really significant fall. It goes about 30 feet, if I'm not mistaken, Tamika. And so there's some concerns around how direct the path needs to be, how the lighting needs to be done, what the call box is going to look like. It's only about 1,000 feet from one end to the other. But when the property falls like that, they want to make sure that it's properly designed for safety and all of those other responsibilities that need to be taken on. And I think it's, as we started talking to them, they realize it's a bigger piece of work than they otherwise intended. They're now talking about going back to the drawing board and deciding whether or not this is due for consideration under the penny program. Our goal is to obviously get them to continue to fund it. It's our piece of property, but if they're going to cut a path through the middle of a piece of property that we own, effectively limiting our ability to develop that property in the future, we want to make sure that it's done correctly, it's done right, and it's done to all the spec that we would otherwise anticipate and need for developments that we're going to take on. So,
I have a question. Was an agreement ever made or written up?
there is a working draft of the agreement, and we had bounced it back and forth a couple of times. We were waiting on a fair amount of information from them, like a schematic drawing of the area that we were planning to take on. Like I said, I didn't even know where the spot was until they had actually sent us the map saying this is where it was supposed to be, and we pulled up GIS and ran the title work and realized no, we own the property.
What date is on that agreement?
Right now, it's undated. So originally I think it was dated 2022. And right now, obviously, we're not any closer to making approval tonight because we still need a fair amount of information from the county before we can make a recommendation to move forward.
So you're working with Richland County?
We are. And
Council.
so staff has had conversations with the county engineer and the county staff, and we're kind of telling them to go back to the drawing board before we're comfortable coming back and making a recommendation to the commission. Look, even though this is not going to be any money out of pocket to us, there is maintenance costs associated with it. Now, I think those maintenance costs are going to be pretty limited. At the end of the day, you're talking about an asphalt path with lighting, with potentially a call box. There could be some electric costs and some general maintenance costs. It would be brought into the general fleet maintenance or the general property maintenance responsibilities that you have. It's a fairly limited cost. And the way we had originally proposed it is they would be responsible for any capital items over $1,000, which is a pretty low threshold for replacing capital that would otherwise occur. Now they haven't agreed to any of that, and we now have to go back through redesign. And so I think the ball is really in their court, but in ours to just kind of keep the pressure on. This has been going on for entirely too long for us not to advance this any
We need to
further.
resolve it
Can
one way or
I
another.
ask a question?
Sure.
I think we had a call on this one.
Yeah.
So how does this go down as far as legal? Are we leasing them the property?
So the way I think it makes the most sense is that we would either take the improvement in fee simple, in which case we would take over the maintenance responsibility, because it's our property anyways, and we would just have a contract with them for capital refit at some point in the future. And so I think if that would probably be the cleanest way to do that. You give them a temporary easement to come on.
But we
and
can't do that, right?
construct it. For temporary purposes, you can. It's still going to be, it's basically just allowing them to come to be a contractor on the site.
Just to build it.
Correct. Now, the way that this is originally proposed is because you own the property, you would effectively have been leasing it to them and then taking the maintenance responsibility back
So I was
over.
going to say we can lease, but we
Correct.
can't
No,
ease.
you actually cannot lease property under the terms of your enabling act. So what we were proposing is we would do it as a temporary easement. They would have the rights to come on and make the construction, and then we would take over the obligation.
So that's legal,
responsibility
but
for it.
what I'm saying is, so 2 years down the road, the agreement sets up like what? We've temporary,
So the temporary easement would go away once they finish their construction,
and it's just our
and
property.
then it's just your property.
So we're giving them a temporary easement to do the construction.
Yeah, and so it really probably it probably won't come back to you as a maintenance agreement. It will simply come back as a capital improvement responsibility agreement for the county to fund future capital needs in the future, because you'll otherwise just own it and take care of it like you would with any other asset in your
Okay.
portfolio.
Lawrence, do we have any indication of when or time frame when they plan to get back with us after they've are reconsidering this plan or
I
proposed
fully
plan?
expected to have more information tonight than we do. We met almost in the immediate aftermath of y'all's last commission meeting, kind of with the goal of trying to light a fire. Staff was supposed to meet out with the county officials that Friday after y'all's meeting, and then it rained. And so it just hasn't been rescheduled. And I think what they've realized is there's more engineering work associated with the design of this. They can't just go in there and clear cut a path, throw down some blacktop and be done with it, which I think is what they originally planned to do. It's going to take a little bit more nuance than that, and I don't think they were originally prepared for it.
Should they decide that they do not want to commit or the project doesn't qualify for the penny tax, where does that leave the project and where does that leave us, given our
That's
restrictions?
a really good question. At the end of the day, you own the property. The property is being used, and I think that's certainly a question for staff, is being used as an access. And so to the extent that folks are now going on to RCRC property,
Right.
using it as an access between the neighborhood and the school facilities,
Right.
You probably want to go through some process of making sure that access is employed that gives people a clean path. You don't want people wandering around in the woods and getting hurt, and it being on your property. And so I think it makes it incumbent upon us to continue working with the county, because I do think it's a good project. If they pull up stakes and say we're not going to do it anymore, then I think it falls back to us to figure out a way to fund doing that project, and we're back in the exact same position. We just don't have the county paying for it.
What year do you recall? I know it was prior to me joining the board, but what year did Richland 2 gift us this property?
I believe that was 2019.
2019.
The information on it.
It was 2019.
Yeah. There's two pieces of property, so yeah, this is September of 19. And it's a pretty large tract of property. There's actually a stormwater retention pond above this area as well, that y'all now own as well.
I would just make sure that it's ADA compliant, from like you're talking about the grade,
Safety
because it is
issues.
like 1 foot per every 12,
Right, and this has a very significant
1 inch
fall.
every 12.
If you go on the county's GIS, you can see it and put on the topographic feature, and like every little line is a 2-foot drop.
Right.
And there's something like 25 feet of drop.
And I have not walked this property. The stormwater, the retention pond, it's undeveloped land? I mean,
It
it's
looks like
nothing.
it's actually a retention pond for a residential development that is
Oh.
above the Cashworth property.
It is above. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Lawrence, I know it's kind of out of the purview of old business, but just any update that you can give us, and if we have to do it under new business, you can come back, but on the legislation, the special purpose district could sell property?
So to my knowledge, nothing has been introduced. We're halfway through the legislative session. And just for all the commissioners' benefit, there's been a conversation around how we get some legislation potentially passed that allows the commission, under your Enabling Act, you have the authority to acquire property, but don't have the authority to convey or the lesser rights to lease. I think if it's something we still want to pursue, there's been some very loose conversation with some of the legislative delegation. I would certainly defer to Bob and Mayor Coble and make sure that we can, use some of his relationships and expertise to.
I hope we can try to push this. I hope we can try to push this.
And it's a 2-year session, so I'll get up with Lawrence we'll get a draft. I think Senator Jackson has agreed to file it, I believe, and we'll get that going. I can't imagine this would be overly controversial, so it should go quickly. Even if it went next year, it might be finished up in January. So I'll work with Senator Jackson on that, and I know Lawrence can draft a bill that no one will understand except Lawrence and whoever else is.
Perfect.
So we'll have to have him explain it to everybody.
It's good for job security.
Thank you, Lawrence. I look forward to an update at some
Absolutely. Y'all
point
just let me
whenever
know.
thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have new business.
Madam Chair, are we going to new business? I rise to a question of privilege. On the last meeting we had, I requested contracts for the attorneys that represent the board. And like I said, it's been 2 years. I've been here 2 years, and I don't know nothing about what the attorneys are able to do. And last meeting, I asked for their contracts. Okay, I got the contracts. I got some contracts a couple weeks ago, but I only got one signed contract. And I got 2 contracts that you can go in the lawyer office and get with no signatures. I want contracts with signatures that's been signed, dated, and delivered to me. It's a shame that I've been here 2 years and don't even know what attorneys can do for me.
Mr. Mobley, this is an executive session discussion, and it should be discussed in executive session only,
No.
we're in general public right now.
You know, I'm rising for a complaint. This is a complaint. Did you understand what I said?
You need to discuss this in executive session.
I said I rise to a question of privilege. You know what that means, right?
I don't.
Ask your parliamentarian.
I'm just asking you.
It's a complaint.
A complaint against who?
It's a complaint because I didn't get what I asked for.
I know, but who are you complaining to?
I'm complaining to the chair.
Okay.
The executive director gave me some contracts. The only contract she gave me was the guy just left, Mr. Flynn. I got all his signatures. I got his contract. The other 2, they just gave me some lawyer information with no signatures, nobody's signatures on it.
Okay.
I could go in the lawyer's office and get that. I want contracts, signatures. Thank you.
We're going to move on. Next, we're going to have new business, administrative policies. Tamika?
Yes, Chair. We come back to you this year in continuation for preparation for our 2023 CAPA reaccreditation process. The agency's operations, some of the administrative policies are enclosed in your packet for review. And for your easy reference, just similar to last year, I have provided a list of policies, basically identifying if they were new, revised, or deleted. These policies are recommended by RCRC management, and it is in regards to the revised policies I have included if they're old or new, the old policies and the new policies in the packet. It is for, hopefully for your approval tonight for the recommended edits for all of the policies. We have, again, just the policies, acceptance of gifts and donations for memorial policies and procedures, personnel protective equipment, environmental sustainability. This is one of them that we are actually trying to delete, that is combined with the next policy of the natural resources management and environmental stewardship. And then we have the scopes of services. That one is recommended for deletion because more of our scope of services are done when we do procurement processes.
I've read over all of this, the new policies and the deleted policies. I think this is a very good report. And I know we need to be ready for the accreditation. It's coming in May. So
Your
suggestion that we agree. But I want everyone's opinion on it or agreement.
Madam Chair, yes, I'd like to say thank you. I did as well, and I would recommend or like to make a motion if no other commissioners have comments. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the administrative policies that have been shared, the reviews, and as outlined with regard to the revision and deletion of some 2 policies.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsey,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Is she on the phone? Did we get her? Okay.
Yes. Commissioner Mobley,
Abstain.
This is Commissioner Miller. I said yes. Could you hear that?
Yes, thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. We got it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Motion has been seconded and approved for the administrative policies update. Thank you. Next, would you like to
I sure can.
explain? Okay.
Okay.
The Prisma license, health license agreement.
Yes, so this agreement was updated from what was previously approved on last year. The Prism Health license agreement, Prism Health is requesting to have the mobile health clinic in the parking lot at Eastover Park every Thursday and Saturday from March the 2nd through December the 2nd from 10 to 2 p.m. In your packet, you should have a copy of the requested for the license agreement, and with your approval, I will to move forward with signing off on that document and getting the information back to them. And you also have the specific dates that they had wanted to have.
First,
It
I'd like-
initially was at Crossroads last year, but this year they're going to do Eastover.
I'd like to thank Prisma Health for including us in having a mobile clinic, and this will be in Eastover, South Carolina, a much needed area for this. And they've given us dates for the entire year, from March through December.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the agreement from Prisma Health Systems for the mobile health clinic.
Second. Yes.
Lapine.
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley. Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
The motion has been seconded and approved. Next, we'll have requests for waiver of facility fees. And I see Mr. Sweet Potato has arrived.
Yes, so this is a request for waiver for facility fees for the Sweet Potato Festival. This event will be held on April the 29th at Hopkins Park. In your packet, you'll find the Sweet Potato Festival information, the facility application. I've also provided for you their committee meeting agendas, which included preparation for this year's event. They are requesting the fees to be waived at Hopkins Park and the Adult Activity Center for April the 28th and 29th. And we do have representatives here tonight, Ms. Carletta Wilson, Ms. Arnitha Jackson, and Ms. Tater, and then the Sweet Potato.
I'd like to
So-
thank the ladies from Hopkins, South Carolina, presenting the Sweet Potato Festival. It grows every year. And
And I think Ms.
had
Carletta
about
wanted to
800
say something.
people or more last year. They even had parade, horse riders, and car show, and entertainment on the stage. It's an excellent, and it grows every year.
Good afternoon. My name is Anita Sumter Jackson, to the Board of Commissioners and all of the members. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak briefly about the Lower Richland Sweet Potato Festival. We have some of our members present here today, and we would like to say thank you on behalf on speaking about the festival. The festival is a family-oriented event. It is held every year at Hopkins Park at 6940 Lower Richland Boulevard, like you didn't know, right?
Right.
Well, we wanted to say that your kindness and your generosity has been much appreciated for all that you do to help make our festival a success. And we thank you for your support, and we pray and hope that you will continue to support us with this event.
I do have one request, that we make sure it's one way in and another way out, which you took care of that last year, but we just need to make sure that's done because there was so many people at the festival.
Yes, we had some
Yeah, and I had a
small
little-
inquiries
Right,
that,
right.
you know,
And another
but
thing,
we're working on
make
getting
sure
all of that.
make
straightened
sure
out.
that the sheriff abides by the traffic, because we had people leaving and the parade was still going on. We had the horses coming in and people trying to drive out. So we got to make sure that problem's resolved.
Okay.
Because we don't want
And
anybody to
we did
get
have some
hurt.
bullet points. We're going to have like our certified crowd managers. We're hiring additional sheriff staff to direct the traffic and the security, because we want to make sure that everyone is safe.
Right.
We're hiring additional parking attendants en route to the traffic on Lower Richland Boulevard. We're working on to make that a smooth flow. Also, additional EMS. So we're doing everything to make sure that everything runs smooth and
Right.
safely for the festival.
Well, I look forward to attending again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to comment?
Also,
I don't
we
know
would
why
like
they
to
ran
bless
out of
you all
sweet
with a
potato
couple
pie
of
last year. Y'all ran out of sweet potato pie last year.
We have some pies over here for the Board of Commissioners.
Oh, you got my vote already. Let's go.
Thank you.
Very nice.
So with that said, I need a motion
Like to
for,
make, go ahead.
to approve the waiver with facility fees for sweet potato festival.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request for a waiver of fees for the Sweet Potato Festival.
Second.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley, Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, the motion has been second and approved. Next, we have a waiver request for facility fees at the Lower Richland Seniors Community Day. We have the paperwork and it's presented by
Yes.
Councilwoman Bernice Scott.
Yes, former council, Miss Bernice Scott, she's requesting to have a kind of like a community give back event, requesting to have the fees waived at Garner's Ferry Adult Activity Center for the community event for the seniors in Lower Richland community on April 6th. This is be held from 9 to 1, and so she's requesting for the fees to be waived.
Do we have anyone here to speak on behalf of the senior event?
No.
Okay.
At that event, they'll be providing information to the seniors. They also can have like a fish fry. They'll be providing information about insurance, wheels, talking about scams and targeting, seniors, improving their financial guidance, and talk about home improvement. So that's what will be information that'll be provided.
I recommend doing a waiver for facility fees for this event, but I need a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we waive the fees for the event, the Senior Community Day event, as outlined in our packet.
Second.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley, Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Motion has been second and approved. Thank you. Next, we'll have general report.
Yes, so my report is brief today. We have a couple of project updates from Garner's Ferry. The new sign at Garner's Ferry at the center at the site is being constructed. So far, we have the brick framework of the sign that has been built so far. North Springs Park, we will begin work on paving the driveway from the driveway up to the baseball field at that site. Other items, we will be reviewing our current compensation study for updates. This review is necessary and will allow us RCRC efforts to be more competitive in the market when we're recruiting for vacant positions. The last classification and compensation study was conducted back in 2019, so we'll be reviewing that. And then the agency will also be updating its strategic plan. The last one covers actually 2018 to 2021. And for CAPA purposes, being that this is a standard that is required, we're going to we will submit information for our current one, and then also just make notation to them that we will be updating.
Who's doing the classification and compensation study?
We're looking at our potential ones who we worked with last time, Evergreen, and so we're working with them to see what they can provide. And that concludes my report.
Are those supervisors? I'm not sure who's helping you do this project.
It's a outside company who helped us with this compensation study before. And so the last time the classification compensation study was a full-blown study, which basically you have that come in, do job descriptions, have them come and do grades, and determine where and talk about salaries and a full-blown. We don't need that because we've already had that in the beginning. This is more of just a update of where we fall in the market with all of our positions that we have.
So you talk about hiring an outside company to come in and do this compensation study?
Yeah.
I think that needs to come by the board. I would like to see a copy of it, of the contract before it's presented or signed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your report. I do have a question. The sign at Garner's Ferry, talk to me about the cost of that sign.
I can have, Alicia, do you have that information? I know we've started so far with the brick framework. I know there's at least almost 4,000, I think, for that. And it looks really, really nice. We'll have the individual to come in and do the inside framework that belongs in that sign, the size and everything.
And that's $5,000.
So
Yeah,
what's the total projected cost of the sign?
Right
Like
at 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like 9 or
it's
10.
max at 10,000. Is this going to be? I know there was some communication back and forth. So pardon me if you shared it at the last meeting. Is this electronic signage? This is going to be not electronic.
This will not be electronic, but it will be nice.
And it will be nice. And the maximum is $10,000.
It'll be just like the sign that's outside of this building.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you.
Anything
All
else?
right, thank you.
Now we'll have our Community Relations Manager report.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Since our meeting in January, these are just a few of the events that have taken place here at Richland County Recreation Commission. On January the 24th, Gaston Golden and Proud Day was held. 30 of our seniors were in attendance. The participants stated that they enjoyed the delicious food, they enjoyed the singing and storytelling. Gaston is actually hosting an event, one event per month. So if you haven't visited Gaston Community Center, please do so. You can contact Ms. Sandra, the site manager there. On January the 28th, Gang Awareness Hoop Fest was held at St. Andrews Park. We had over 300 participants to attend. We'd like to say a special thank you to Lisa, to Ira, Rayshawn, Miss E. They helped plan and execute the Hoop Fest event at St. Andrews Park. A Make a Kid Smile Day was held at Eastover Park, and that was held from February the 3rd to the 5th. They had over 35 attendees, and they said that that number was higher than usual, but they had fun. Love Bug Affair was held at Polo Road Park on February the 10th, and they said they had about 20 participants and received positive feedback from all. The Bless Your Heart Ball was held on February the 13th at Bluff Road Park. We had over 75 seniors on hand. They were treated to a ballet performance. They were all given gift boxes. And Lisa Smar, who has worked for us for 39 and a half years, so almost 40 years of service, we celebrated her farewell at this particular event with the seniors. Ms. Donzetto was in attendance, and we'd like to say thank you for your attendance.
Always. Looking forward to the next one.
On Valentine's Day, we had the Sweetheart Ball that was held at the Garner's Ferry Adult Activity Center. As you can see, the ladies and the gentlemen were all decked out in their red. They enjoyed dancing, door prizes, and a delicious meal. We had over 95 people in attendance. And as you can see, Ms. Donzetto was in attendance, and Ms. Tamika was also in attendance at this event. On February the 18th at Bluff Road Park, we had Bumps, Set, and Spike, a volleyball event, and we had over 41 participants in total. Several of the people expressed interest in having more clinics like they do in the Lower Richland area at Bluff Road. They want to expand it to the northeast side of town. We had the Healthy Heart Drive-Through at Hopkins Park. I know that was sponsored by Western House and Sister Care. They were vendors, but they blessed the seniors with Valentine's bags that contain all sorts of prizes. And a lot of the folks that were here just now with Della and Miss Wilson made this possible for the seniors in the Hopkins community. On February the 23rd, they had a Black History celebration at the Gaston Park. They learned a lot of Black history fun facts. They even recognized all of the seniors that were 80 and above. They were recognized with a certificate for their community service to the center at Gaston and the community of Gaston. Our upcoming events. In March, on March the 2nd, we'll have a chair volleyball tournament at Bluff Road Park. On March 11th at North Springs Park, we'll have Stump Out Hunger charity basketball game. On March the 16th at the Goddess Ferry Adult Activity Center, we'll have a St. Patrick's Day Health Fair. On the 17th, we'll have St. Patrick's Day Festival Road Trip. And then on March the 18th at St. Andrews Park, we'll have the 3-point shootout. And for additional events, you can look at our website or check us out on social media.
Thank you very much. Next, I need a motion to go in executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we move to executive session.
Second.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley,
Yeah.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. No action was taken in the executive session. I need a motion to come out of executive session.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we exit executive session.
Second.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller, Commissioner
I don't think she's on.
I don't think she's on.
Commissioner Mobley,
Yeah.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Motion has been seconded and approved. We'll now have a statement made by Commissioner Mobley.
Yeah, I want to apologize to the two attorneys that's here, because they have signed the contract, but I just hadn't got them yet, so I don't want to fault the attorneys for something that they're not involved in. But I have to understand that I will be getting them soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Need a motion for adjournment.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Mobley,
Yeah.
Commissioner Singleton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you everyone for coming out tonight.